Welcome to the Heart of Money podcast, where we discuss the personal and emotional elements of money and the impact that money has on every area of your life. I'm Austin Black, a personal finance coach that helps couples overcome their fear and frustration of financial management so they can take complete control of their money. What started as a desire to learn the fundamentals of money management has turned into a passion for helping couples work together to achieve financial success and strengthen their relationship with each other. Whether you're looking for the best strategies to manage your money as a couple, or you're tired of struggling to gain traction and want to overcome the fear and frustration associated with finances, I'm here to help, and this show is for you. Ready to learn more? Then let's talk about the Heart of Money. Welcome back to the Heart of Money, Season Trace 3. We made it, Bob. It took us a little while to get here. You're still trying to count. Can you get that high? I'm impressed by your numbers. You did it. Good job.
We're still on the same hand. It works.
Yeah. No shoes had to come off yet.
They're off, though. That's
okay. Well,
just so you know.
Nosepan. It's exciting. We made it to Season 3, and we're going to be doing things a little bit differently this season from the standpoint of we're still going to have the great conversation that we all enjoy around here, but we're also going to be a little bit more on target maybe with some of the things we talked about. We're excited about this season. It's going to be a lot of fun. But, Bob, it's been a few months. It feels like a long time. It has been a long time since we recorded. So what's new in the world of Wessler?
We went from busy season to the next busy season, and one was a little bit more orchestrated and organized as to what happened when, to fruit basket upset, and we're just trying to keep our head above water, literally and figuratively when it rains an inch overnight.
Right.
And, but all the cracks have dried up, or, they've gone away until they dry up again and come back tomorrow, because that just seems to be the way it's been around here. But
yeah,
it
has been one of those seasons, it seems like.
Yep, I was lucky enough to decide I actually got ahead of the grass and mowed this weekend, while the rest of my neighbors that mow 3 times a week just hadn't got around to it yet. And I'm sure we might hear them in the background in a minute. We don't know. So
are you still spending more money on gas for your mower than your truck?
That has changed, but that's changing again. That just seems to be the way that we are in flux around here. That we had a daycare provider that was a couple miles away, and I was making routine trips twice a day to drop my youngest off or pick her up, and then they moved 20 minutes away. So I started getting gas I'd say every other day or every 3 days because of that move, because that was 2 trips a day and over an hour of driving for somebody that doesn't leave the house. So,
Big change.
It is. And I'm still working from home, but, I guess throughout the year we had plenty of things where we were going most nights or doing something, and then slowed down and found things to do around the house. But yeah, it's amazing, even from working from home, how many times I get out and go somewhere for something.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a wild year for us too. I know, of course, we were talking about recording this 2 or 3 months ago, and just I feel like you go through spurts where, not that you ever have you do have full control of your schedule because you can decide what you're going to do, what you're not going to do. But there's times when it feels like your schedule is just so jam-packed that you don't know when you're going to have time for other stuff. I think that's kind of how we were here a few months ago. This year has been, it's been different from the standpoint of, not taking on another business earlier this year or last year, end of last year, that being majority of the work for this year. And it amazes me how fast time flies when you do have a full schedule. and you can't hardly get ahead. You're lucky if you can keep up, but we've always kind of had the frame of mind of there's always something on the calendar, whether it's truly work related or just stuff to do. I do not like to sit around, so you will not find me just goofing off and hanging out. I'm going to be going 80, 90 hours a week between everything.
Yeah.
That's how I'm wired and what I enjoy. But yeah, I'm quickly learning that the more you have to do, the faster time goes, and the more intentional you got to be about what you say yes and no to, or it flies away.
The thing I found is I'm like, oh, I'm looking to look forward to a certain holiday, and I'm like, oh wait, that was 3 to 6 weeks ago. Oh yeah, that happened. That has been a continuation for the last 5 years, it seems like, but I'm still doing it, and I think that maybe that's a COVID thing that didn't go away for some people, or maybe just me. I don't know.
It's probably just you.
Yeah, just me. But yeah, being busy and then going, oh yeah, that's already passed, and looking forward to the next one, and then, oh well, it'll be here next week, and then it's gone, and kind of like 3-day weekends.
Right. What are those?
Well, those are days when you have other things to do. That yes.
Precisely. Well, I am really excited about this season. Bob, we have had such a fun time in candid conversation with these episodes. And I didn't say at the beginning, but episode 104, by the way, which is exciting in and of itself. We hit over 100 the end of last year there, and we're coming back with our 104th episode tonight. And we have talked about so many things. We have had so many conversations, so many jokes and just candid comments and wonderful guests and everything else. But what I'm excited about with this season is how kind of pointed we're going to be with what we're talking about. And I think we're even going to go back and rediscuss some of the things that we have had episodes on, because there's been so many topics that we've discussed, we've gone in depth. But this season, we're going to kind of go from a very structured standpoint of what exactly do we want the viewer and the listener to walk away from. And I think that's something that's going to be really beneficial to our listeners in this season. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to have you be a part of this journey with me again. The perspective that that you always bring to the table. And let's dive into it. You ready to go, man?
Yeah, because we want people to walk away with things. We don't want people just to walk away. We want people to walk away with something.
Yes.
That they hadn't heard before, or that they needed to hear again. And I'm still messing with my screen because either I'm looking at the bottom of the keyboard or I'm looking off into space, and I can't tell where I'm looking at times between my camera and the screen itself. So it's probably even better with my face for radio that nobody even sees that we're broadcasting on a video feed. So
just be glad that we're on YouTube.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we're going to kick off season 3 kind of at a ground level, you might say, from the standpoint of what it takes to really win with money. Limiting beliefs. It's our biggest limiting factor. It's the thing that keeps anyone from winning, from succeeding in any area of life. And I feel like there's a lot of people, when it comes to their money, that they are held back by limiting beliefs. So tonight's episode, we want to really break down those barriers and those walls and help folks have an understanding around what they can do to overcome their limiting beliefs, and more importantly, why they have to do that in order to win. What the detriment is if you don't overcome a limiting belief. So some great talking points that we're going to share tonight. But Bob, I'm going to kind of let you jump in to kind of lead the conversation first around, what do you think is a limiting belief, and where does that come from? Where does that even originate?
I might be getting ahead of myself, but with a limiting belief, something that's always been true for somebody, that's the way it's always been, so that's the way it's always going to be. It comes from habit. It comes from something they had growing up or something that was ingrained to them. There was a song back when I was growing up, it's called "That's Just the Way It Is." Some things never change.
Yeah.
But that really, the limiting belief, and it's really any belief, is the set of things that are instilled in you at some point, and then you carry on at some point, either from a young age or from a catastrophic incident or from a mind shift where you decide that things are going to change, and recognizing what those limiting beliefs were prior and how you need to change those to have a different outlook.
Yeah. The thing that strikes me about limiting beliefs, 'cause it really is, it's a mindset and it's an opinion, but it's something that holds you back from doing something because either you don't believe you're going to succeed in it, or you don't believe that you're going to have positive results. So it almost is, you're telling yourself, this won't work, this won't have a positive impact, this won't be good for me.
I can't.
Exactly, I can't do this. And the reality of it is, it's all in our heads. I mean, it is all just a thought process, a mindset, an opinion that keeps us from doing something because we have already told ourselves it's not possible, it won't work for me, I can't do that, I'm not going to win, I'm not going to have a positive result from that. It's an internal obstacle that we have to overcome. And the reason that I think so many people don't realize that they have limiting beliefs is because they don't know any different. It's just, like you said, it's the way that it is. A lot of times these limiting beliefs, they come from those past experiences. They come from things that we've been told by people that we trust, that we have been raised by or been taught by or been surrounded by. So they are ingrained in our psyche that this is the way that it is. And obviously there's some beliefs that don't have as profound of a negative impact upon us. I feel like that, we question, okay, it doesn't seem like this is impossible, I just don't know if I can do it. I think that's a key piece there. But more so times we see, well, I can't do this because I don't believe that it's possible for me to even start to try. And that's really the core of the limiting belief that I think holds people back so much from even attempting to have success, is they just, in their mind, they've lost before they've even started the race. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. The famous quote is either if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right.
Yes, yes.
And I'm also thinking of the little engine that could, that was ingrained in me early, but, limiting beliefs still occur, whether that little engine that could still did or not. So.
Right. Yeah, that Henry Ford quote, I reference that in my webinars so often because it is the defining factor in our ability to win. Period. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that it's so simple but so powerful because if you try something and fail, you can at least say that you tried. But if you don't even give it the initial effort, then you've already told yourself you can't do it.
Yeah. And even if you just attempting to do it, you might not be successful the first time or the second time or the 18th time. But putting in the effort to try, you actually find out if you can or if you can't.
100%.
Yeah. There's the other aspect of, change that from can't to won't and see how that changes your thought process of, it's not I can't, it's I won't. I'm not going to do it. Well, different thought process.
And I feel like, unfortunately, there are folks who have experienced so many negative things or been told so many negative things that it is incredibly difficult, if not nearly impossible, for them to overcome a limiting belief, especially around money or around themselves, around their ability. I personally feel like I have limiting beliefs around my ability to perform at a certain level or to achieve a certain level of accomplishment, and not so much even just financially, but just who I am. I feel like I have limiting beliefs around who I can be as a person based upon my thoughts, my actions, my decisions, and I'm aware of that. I'm working on that, but there are so many things where we we don't see another option. We don't see another way. So you can stop before you even start, and that's really the biggest thing that I think deters people from going down the path of having success with their money. Is in their minds, it's not even an option.
Yeah, I think there's.
They come from the background of this isn't going to happen. They come from the background of I've never been able to do well. They come from the background of it's just where I am, who I am, and that's the way it's going to be. And all of those are limiting beliefs. You look back at the folks who have not been not had the resume to succeed, and they end up being the biggest success in their neighborhood.
Yeah, I think there's some of that is societal, or big word, socioeconomic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's based on the people they're around. If it's their
Mm-hmm.
family, their friends, I'm just keep throwing out quotes about another one being you can tell who a person is or what a person's like based on the 10 closest people to them. If they have 10 of the closest people,
Mm-hmm.
they might only have 2 or 3, but really a lot of the limiting is based on the cycle of what goes through their head or what is pressed upon them of what they can or can't accomplish. And it's just a repetitive action or a repetitive thought, either internally or by those that they spend time with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a lot of common limiting beliefs around money itself. I came up with about 4 that I've heard a lot about. I've heard a lot of people talk about. You probably even have a few more or a few others to add to it. But the 4 that I have heard the most often, and I'm sure that folks listening can relate to these. So if you can, I would love to hear if you're listening to the podcast or if you're watching on YouTube. Drop a comment on YouTube section or shoot us an email. Let us know if you can relate to any of these. But the 4 that I have heard a lot of people talk about is number 1, I'm not good with money. I'm not good with it. I can't manage it well. I can't make the right decisions. I'm not good with those dollar bills in my hand. I do not make good decisions with those. The second limiting belief is I don't make enough to get ahead. I am limited by my income, and I do not make enough to cover my bills, to save anything, to pay down my debt. I'm going to be in this cycle because I don't make enough money. My income is not strong enough. And that's very real for a lot of people, but it's a limiting belief. The third one is I don't know how to save. That's another very real reaction that some people have is I don't know how to save, and therefore I can't save. Is the underlying limit there is because I don't know how, I can't do it, so I'm stuck in this position, and I'm never going to be able to save money. I'm always going to be in this, and it goes right back up the chain. These are kind of all related to each other. But then that fourth one is there's never enough, right? There's never, no matter how much money I make, there's never enough. Scarcity echoes out of that sentiment and out of that belief. And as long as you maintain that, there will never be enough because you always feel like you're in a spot of scarcity and limiting. Do you have any to add to that? Any that you have heard folks talk about is limiting themselves?
I'm thinking about the first one you had, and to me, it's just a cop out.
Yeah.
And really, those are the ones that I've heard. And as you went through them, I'm thinking of rebutting each and every one of them on take a different mindset to it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the whole point of limiting beliefs is this is where people get stuck. This is what they've learned. This is what they've experienced. And they don't have that thought process of how do I change that? or what can I do to think differently or to overcome, simply because I don't want to say it's necessarily a lazy way, but it is an easy way out by saying something like that. You got into scarcity. In many cases, even with somebody making a good amount of money, there is always there's always something else I want. Or in the case of I don't make enough and being able to cover bills, we are in a time that really that is tough for some people. And I think the other side of a limiting belief is discipline. And maybe that's part of it is if I maintain this limiting belief of I can't or I won't or I don't, then I don't have to apply some discipline to that and change the way I act, because the way somebody else behaves or the way someone else is successful, well, that's good for them, but I can never do that because you're not applying the discipline that you need in order to do that.
Yeah, the reality of, and this is what we'll get to at the end of the conversation today, every one of these is a choice. Every single one is a choice. Like you said, if there's cop out, you're choosing to give yourself an excuse for what you don't think is possible for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that don't make a lot of money and they make just enough to money. They can cover everything that they want and they're satisfied with what they have. And there's people that make a ton of money and are terrible at managing it because they choose to not take on the responsibility and learn the decisions. They let the money make the decisions for them. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the biggest reality there. So Bob, one thing that I kind of see this being divided into two sectors of people. One of those is someone who, and we often split these because it is two different mindsets, but you can have limiting beliefs with both mindsets. One of these would be financially, you don't have as much money as someone else. The income is lower there. So you can say that there's never enough money because there may not be enough income there, period. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that you can say that you're not good enough, that you're not good with it, or you don't make enough to get ahead. I always say that it's not about how much you make, it's about how well you manage what you make.
Yeah.
And if you believe that you are incapable of making the right decisions, it doesn't matter how much money you ever will make. You will always feel like you're incapable of making that right decision. So I think you're exactly right in the straightforward, direct way of all this. These are cop-outs, but they are often because people believe that they are true, and they don't know that there's another option, that there's another choice. Yeah. They feel like they're stuck in that position, and that it's not so much that they are choosing not to do it, it's that they don't believe it's possible, that they choose to not do it. It's not an option on the table. But I think the biggest piece of this conversation that can maybe open up to why this is a choice is what really drives someone to have these limiting beliefs, because they don't just come out of nowhere and they don't just pop up, randomly. There are typically several instances or several years of experiences that create these within people. And I personally feel like it's a progression of your acceptance of the limiting belief and how it affects you. And these don't all apply to every single person. They don't all fall in the same order, but I think there is some flow to it. I see a vast majority of people that encounter any one of these beliefs it's stemming back to their parents having a negative view of money, and then the people that have this belief then just model that behavior, and they model that scarcity mindset, so it continues within their, like you said, within their psyche. Well, this is how mom and dad handled it. We learn so much from our parents. We model so much from our parents, and if we don't know any better, we look at that as just life. That's the way that it is. That is our lifestyle and our mentality. And I think so many times that's where all of this starts, is a parent's negative view, and then their behavior and their mindset is modeled by their kids. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, a lot of it comes from being passed down from the previous generation, and a lot of it, I think, is habit. And when you talk about just not having enough, the idea, to me, I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with somebody about, I work with a group of guys that are very much ingrained with limiting beliefs, that they've never had a good role model. They've never had somebody around them that has told them, yes, you can. Or these guys have made really bad decisions. And they're now trying to get their lives straightened out. And a financial aspect is part of that. And one of the people I was talking to was talking about these other guys, was they've never been on a card ride with somebody that 2 minutes into the ride, they had to get a drink. They had to stop at a gas station. I said, it's the whole mindset of, I'm taking a 5-mile drive from point A to point B, but I've got to stop at the gas station in between and get a Super Soaker Bedwetter soda to have on the way there. And on the way back, I've got to do it again. Now, I'm guessing those are probably $1.50 to $3.50 a piece now. And they're doing that every time they go someplace. And so that money is disappearing pretty quick with every stop. And they get to a point where, and with these guys doing their budgeting and actually tracking where they spend their money, it's eye-opening to them when they get to the point that they say, oh my gosh, I stopped at the gas station every day. And every time I stopped at the gas station, I got a drink and a snack and a scratcher's ticket or something. And I spent $20. And I spent $100, and I only brought home $600 this week. And $200 of that has to go to rent. And so then they start putting the pieces together, and they realize, oh, I can't be doing that if I want to get ahead.
Yeah.
But they have somebody that's in their life that's telling them that they need to change that limiting belief from I can't to I can. I just need to change my habits.
Yeah. That's obviously, an extreme scenario, but if you think back to the idea that patterns has such a huge role on our daily activity, and those patterns usually are derived from what we believe we're capable of, what we want to accomplish, or what we are succumbed to, you might say. I would be really curious as to why that person felt that they needed to do that. What was missing in their psychology, or what drove them to feel like this is a necessity, which would then make it a habit, which would then lead it into being a mindset of, well, this is just what we do, without even realizing it. But yeah, you look at the little things we do in life that all add up to something big. And we do it because we are either, everything is driven by pleasure or avoiding pain. Right? That's what everything comes down to. Man, yeah, I wasn't expecting that story, but that's a really just that shows you how powerful
Hmm.
the little things, the little details of your mindset can be. That's
Yeah,
what's
and
pretty incredible.
some of that could go back to, well, when they were growing up, whenever they went on a trip, they stopped at a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
Or they just got into the habit that they rode with somebody, and that
Mm-hmm.
was the process for the day.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time that when I was working a job that we did landscaping, and every morning you stopped at the gas station and you filled up the trucks and the mowers and everything else with gas, and in the process you went inside and you probably bought a bag of chips and you
Mm-hmm.
got a soda, and you know you did this, that, or other. It became the routine.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you realize once you get into that routine, it can affect other things. Like you were saying, when we create these habits, they roll into bigger things over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to, in essence, deconstruct what you were doing
Yeah.
and say, how do I need to do this differently to have a different outcome? And you have to start with the end of, where do I want to be? Okay, now that I know where I want to be, how do I get there? And what steps do I have to take from the outcome to where I am now to make those changes?
Yeah. 100%. It's all reflective, and with the focus on the future, which is kind of counterintuitive, but it takes both of those to have any success with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, the parents, I think, is where a lot of it starts, or even if that's not necessarily parents, but just whoever you spent the most time with, growing up, whoever was kind of your mentor, your caretaker, your provider, your guardian, whoever taught you at a young age, and who you're modeling because of that. That's where I think a lot of these things start. But then the next level from that, and this is probably where it's more common. I think a lot of people, it starts with their parents, even if they don't realize it. But where it's more commonly seen, as people are getting older, is they don't understand how to manage their money, so they just make their decisions based upon what their friends and their family do. But then if their friends and their family don't know what they're doing, you don't realize that. So whenever you do the same thing and it doesn't work, you start blaming yourself.
Hmm.
And that I think is where more people see this happening. They don't see it as a limiting belief. They see it as a
Status quo.
crutch.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. This is just the way that is. So they begin to develop, even though their parents may have taught them that this is how you look at money. And so they're following their parents or they're following their friends, and they're now, as they get older, they are seeing the results from what they were taught enacted in their own management, and it's not working for them either. So now, well, I thought that was the right way to do it. I must have done something wrong, is
Yeah.
essentially what it comes down to. I must have messed up because this didn't work for me.
I'm just not good at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is my fault. I'm going to blame myself because, I mean, why would anyone do it if it wasn't right? If it didn't work, why would that be the way they did it? My parents are smart. My friends are smart. Going back again to also to your comment about who you spend the most time around, we trust our closest peers.
Hmm.
We trust the people that we spend time with, or else we wouldn't value that relationship. So I see this component being something that sucks more people in than they realize. And it creates the biggest obstacle, because if you don't know any better,
Yeah.
you don't know any better.
Yeah.
So the third phase kind of that feeds off of that then, because you make these decisions, it doesn't work out, you blame yourself, that happens over and over and over again. Eventually, you just don't trust yourself to make big financial, or you don't trust yourself because you've made big financial mistakes. So you really lose that confidence. And what people don't realize, the result of the loss of confidence is your internal limiting belief is building upon itself.
Mhm.
You're teaching yourself that this is the way that it is. You're experiencing enough things where you are solidifying that in your own mind because of what you're experiencing. So what may have started as something that you believed and were taught and experienced, now it's becoming true for you. It is your limiting belief. Does that make sense?
Yep. You've created a rut from the original path, and you've been down that path enough times that it's built up around you, and you've created your own little ingrained path that you can't get out of.
Yeah. Do you see that being or do you see any other stages within that progression in addition to that?
No, I think it's once a path has started, it's difficult to get out of it unless there is a point that, we've talked about your grocery aisle experience, where somebody just gets to a point that this doesn't work and I've got to do something different, or something major happens when they're within their life that, just either scares them or causes a paradigm shift in their thinking, either personally or somebody, for lack of a better term, gets to them and really shakes them up to think differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or act differently.
Right. It's that. Yeah, and that's what we'll get to at the very end is, how do you change that? I think that there's a pivotal moment in both a limiting belief and in the pivoting change from that. But where I see this kind of coming to a head for people, so the entire progression from learning to seeing and implementing to experiencing a constant failure, essentially, and blaming that on yourself and losing confidence in yourself, then, because we can never be the one that is the cause of the problem, then what it becomes is money controls you. At least you feel like it controls you. There is this whole, all these beliefs lead us to the mindset of money is controlling me, therefore I can't make the right decision. I can't have enough money because whatever I spend money on is out of scarcity or out of necessity. I'm not doing anything proactively, and therefore it doesn't matter how much money I make. I'm going to continue to make bad decisions with it. So my income doesn't solve anything. It just makes it a bigger problem. But whenever you begin to feel like money controls you, you kind of remove any other option to win. That's when you succumb to the reality of, to me, it's never going to change. This is the way that it is, and I just got to deal with it. I have to accept failure is what is really the bottom line around that, if you're going to believe that.
Yeah, I think that to change that up a little bit, that it's not necessarily that the money rules you, but it's external factors that are making those decisions for you. The money itself is something that comes in and goes out. But it's the external factor of, oh man, cable TV or streaming or the water bill this month, or all the things that have to be paid, and on top of all the things that have to be paid, all of the things that I want to buy, and those are all necessities, and those are things that take money, and the money is not a tool, it's water in your hands. It comes in because you made the money, but goes right back out because there's something that needs to be paid for, and everything is a necessity. Everything is, you have to have, and not something you're controlling how much you spend where, or if you even really want it.
Yeah. And I think you could probably, depending upon what your frame of mind is, you could approach that from both angles, because there's obviously some people who they acknowledge more the fact that their external factors are dictating what they can and cannot do, right? They are, their housing expenses are higher because of where they live, and that's an environment that they are in, and they have to just deal with the consequences of that. This is all being limiting belief, victim mindset. But then you've also got people that say, well, I can't make a good decision with the money because there's never enough money to make a good decision with. There's not, the money's coming in, it's going out, and it just rules my life. There is not enough here to do anything different with. The money is what is driving my decisions because I only have enough money to spend on what I had to spend on, and there's nothing left at the end of the month. Or I don't feel like there's enough money.
Yeah.
And that is really the core piece of the limiting belief in your ability to change is I feel like I'm being controlled by my money because I subconsciously either am forced to make certain decisions or am choosing to make certain decisions based upon the path that I am electing, my environment, everything else. All comes back to choice. Ultimately, everything comes back to choice. But you can choose to let the money be what controls your thought process because in your mind, that's what everything is sitting around is what I have to spend, what I have to save, what's left, what's gone. That's kind of where you're sitting at. So I think you can kind of, depending upon what your situation is, you can definitely look at both of those perspectives. And they each make you approach it differently, I feel like, too.
Yeah. Yep. They're different mindsets coming at the same issue and how you treat the symptom, in essence.
Yep. 100%. So we've identified what a limiting belief is, what some of the most common limiting beliefs around money are, and what brings those limiting beliefs into an applicable scenario for our lives. But we've been alluding to this all along that it's a choice that you can change, that you can pivot. So I think it's really important that we help folks understand what does need to change to overcome these beliefs. It's not easy, and not everyone will be able to do this, but everyone has the potential, maybe? Is that the right word, you think?
I think so. I think potential, I think it's having the experience or the point in their life that a change, they realize they have to make a change.
Yep. So yeah, if you want to put in the work and you want to control your mindset and you want to ultimately control your finances and your future, the choice is yours to make. And we're going to provide some steps around how you can make that change to overcome those beliefs. And Bob, I believe that it all starts with your relationship with money and what its role in your life actually is. I think that's really the acknowledgement and it has to be a healthy acknowledgement of how you relate to money, what money's role is within your life, what it does for you, what it doesn't do for you. I feel like that's the basis of where any change starts, because without that, we maintain no control of ourself, and that's what this really all comes down to.
Yeah, I think it's knowing the role. I'm thinking of the Nutty Professor. I think that was the yes I can, but I can choose. It's my decision. Where do I want to put that money? Yes, I can. Yes, I can was what came from the movie, but there was a different thought process of I'm in charge. That the money works for me. I'm not a victim, in essence, of where my money goes. I tell that money where it needs to go.
Yeah. You maintain control over the controllables. And folks will sometimes ask, well, what is a healthy relationship with money? This is something that I work a lot with clients on, is developing a healthy relationship, because it goes back to your viewpoint. It goes back to how you talk about money, think about money, respond to financial decisions, what makes you motivated, what makes you scared. And in order to make good money decisions, you've got to have a healthy relationship. But then the next step from there is you have to have a desire to succeed and not accept every mistake as a failure. What do you think?
Well, and I'm thinking failure versus a learning opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, I screwed up,
Mm-hmm.
but am I going to go? Am I going to retreat back to my hole and the
Mm-hmm.
path that I was on and say, "Well, I tried it," or am I going to say, "Okay, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? What could I have done differently?" Again, that takes effort because
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole lot easier to crawl back in your hole and just say,
Yeah.
"I failed. I give up. I quit."
And when someone has that mindset, my question back to them is choose your hard.
Yeah.
Which one is harder to do? Is it harder to live like this, where you feel like money controls you, or is it harder to take to work? It is work, but to take the opportunity and to learn and to change, and that's where I think that this does have to start with that desire to succeed. If you don't want to change, you're never going to change. If you don't want to win, you're not going to put in the work and put in the effort. There's nothing in life that comes easy. There's nothing that comes without effort. There's nothing that comes quickly. And if you don't have a hunger and a craving for it, you're not going to stay motivated enough to accomplish that. So, you can have the best relationship with money. If you don't want success bad enough, you're not going to do what it takes to be at one level of success where someone else is, right? And not that's bad. It's just reality.
Mm-hmm.
You're only going to go as far as you feel compelled to go, and you're only going to succeed as much as you yearn the success. There's some people that are perfectly fine with. I don't want to give levels to success, but they are just fine being at level A and someone else being at level Z, and that's perfectly fine. But if you could be at level Z and you choose to only be at level A, that's on you. That
Mm-hmm.
is your decision to not have that success drive. Um, so yeah, and you're right. The lessons, um, failure is only failure if we don't learn from it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom. I mean, how many times do we mess up in life? How many times do we make the wrong decision? And how many times do we go back and say, okay, how could I have done this differently? Um, that is the epitome of growth, right? We're never going to get it right the first time.
Yeah, and if you don't learn from it, you're bound to repeat it. And you're bound to repeat
100%.
it until you learn from it.
100%. So the third thing that needs to change is your personal accountability for your actions. Ouch. Did I just say that?
I've never heard that word before. What is this word? Accounting
I
for
probably
what?
stepped on a few toes with that comment. Wait, my money doesn't control me? Nope, you're the one in charge of this ship.
Yeah, and I think I want to go back to your comment on relationship with money
Mm-hmm.
because that's kind of been hitting at me is I think a healthy relationship with money is one where you really don't think about money.
Mm-hmm.
That it is another thing in your life, but you don't dwell on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's there. It's something you have. It's something you use. It's something you have plans for, but you don't spend your time like Scrooge McDuck counting it
Mm-hmm.
or thinking how much you don't have. You know, you might go through seasons like that. I don't think anybody needs to be the Scrooge McDuck side, but you're going to have people that will go through the seasons that there's just not enough because there's calamity after calamity after calamity.
Mm-hmm.
And those times are really rough. And maybe that's what some of our listeners, I don't want to wish this on anybody, but maybe that's what some people need to say, I've got to make a change
Mm-hmm.
because it's just one calamity after another and they
Yeah.
just can't seem to get ahead. Maybe that's your wake up call to say I need to be doing something different. And that's a hard place to be in.
Yeah.
But a healthy relationship with money is where you're not focusing on it
Mm-hmm.
because it's not what drives you and it's not what's forcing you to make decisions.
Yep. Absolutely. And in that instance, it takes away your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
If you are letting, and this is where the accountability comes into play. If you're letting your money in your mind control what's going on, there's only one reason why it's happening. You're not taking control of your own choices. You're not taking control of your own decisions. You're not taking control of yourself and what you say yes to, what you say no to, or what you say it can wait to. Every single thing, every single financial decision that we make is a choice. Now, some choices there isn't many other options, but it's still a choice, right? We can choose to say, no, I'm gonna have a harder life if I say no to this. That is a choice. Versus, okay, I need this, I'm going to say yes to it. Other things we say yes to because we want to. We could say no and be better off financially. Mm-hmm. So every decision that we make is a choice. And if you ever want to take control, you've got to take accountability. That is the only way that you will ever be in charge, is if you take accountability and responsibility for what you do, say, think, act, all of it. It's all on you, is the blunt reality. But the good thing is you're not alone. If you learn how to manage your money, if you understand how to manage your money, then you begin making the right choices. And I think that's what we are really here to do, whether it's on this podcast or in our coaching sessions, is to help folks break down the walls and dismantle these beliefs. Every single person has the ability, has the capacity, has the potential to win and succeed if they break down that wall, if they improve their relationship, if they choose to succeed, if they take responsibility and accountability, and if they learn the right ways. And obviously that's from learning from someone who has the right experience, right? It's not someone who you think is doing it right, but who keeps messing up. That's someone who actually has experience, has the skill set, has the success and the track record. That is where you really begin to experience change, is by following the skills and the steps and the strategies of someone who is doing it right, implementing that, not just what your cousin Bob said after he made a few mistakes in his life.
Of all the names you could have found, I don't know that guy.
It just came out.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, what do you think about that process?
Well, I'm just glad I don't have a cousin Bob, but if I don't have a cousin Bob, I might have to worry about me being that cousin Bob. I don't know. Yeah, I circling back and using a phrase I hate, back to the point of saying, I need to make a change, realizing that you need to make a change, and then finding someone that's worth emulating, or finding someone that is doing a much better job or is succeeding where you want to succeed, and learning from them.
You know anybody like that?
Not my cousin Austin. By the way, we're not related, just for those that were thinking. We might both be goofy, but we're not related.
That might be a scary scenario.
That would be, yeah.
Oh, man. So, yeah, bottom line is limiting beliefs. We don't realize we have them. They limit our ability to succeed because we don't believe in ourselves. That's the bottom line, the reality of it. And a lot of times we don't even realize that we have them because it's just the way that life is around us, and we don't know any better. But we're not satisfied. We're not confident. We continue to struggle. We continue to question. We continue to be frustrated. And at some point, we begin to realize then that, okay, this isn't the way that it should be, but how do I change that? Mm-hmm. And once you get to that point, then you begin to start growing. You begin to breaking down those barriers, those obstacles. But what I want to call people to is the realization that you have limiting beliefs that you don't even realize. And they are holding you back from greater potential, especially with your money and with your marriage. And whenever you take the step to change that, it's the hardest step that you'll take, but it's the most rewarding step that you'll take. And that step will lead you to growth, to difficulty, struggle, as you modify and change and find a better option, a better path, a better result to achieve your goals, your new beliefs, your new objectives. And whenever you're ready to take that step and to get serious about that, we're here to help. We're here to coach you. We're here to walk you through the strategies, the tactics, the how-to accomplish that. But that's the path of overcoming your limiting beliefs and achieving success that you didn't know was possible before. Mm-hmm. Any other comments, Bob?
Well, you take that first step, and there are many steps that follow, and there are mistakes along the way, and it is a journey. You don't get from, set where you were saying A to Z. That doesn't happen overnight. There are, 24 letters in between, and you might have to repeat a few of the letters along that progress. So, taking the first step, and as Austin said, we're here to help, and that's something that we've done and made the mistakes, and usually the whole purpose of me being on this show is to say don't do the things that I did. And maybe that's my cousin Bob moment. Who knows?
Right. Oh, very well said. Well, folks, hope that you love the first episode of our Season 3, episode 104. It's exciting to be back in the studio, to be recording these, and even more excited to bring you more great episodes this season as we continue to discuss in-depth conversation and money talks. Have some great guests, and I'm looking forward to it. So, Bob, thanks for being along for the ride.
You bet.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you again next time on The Heart of Money.